العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدم. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. We'll carry on with كتاب منهج السالكين إن شاء الله. كتاب النكاح من منهج السالكين الشيخ عبد الرحمن السعدي رحمة الله عليه رحمة واسعة. We were on the chapter of nikah. Last week we took a few issues or masail, or a couple of weeks ago we took a few masail to do with kitab al-nikah. Today inshallah we'll start off with babu shurut al-nikah, the conditions for the nikah to be correct. These conditions that the Shaykh is about to mention are shurut al-sihha. And you've already studied what shurut al-sihha mean. Shurut al-sihha mean those conditions in which an act, a ibadah, a contract will not be correct without it. So min shurut al-sihhati salah, from the shurut of the salah, from the correctness of the salah, istiqbal al-qibla, or al-tahara, or satr al-awra. طيب. So in this chapter we're going to talk about those conditions in which we must find present in the contract of the nikah before the nikah can be deemed to be correct. There are two titles or two chapters that are similar, however very different. The first one, Shurut al-Nikah, the top one. Shurut al-Nikah. That is this chapter that we have here. Shurut al-Nikah are those conditions that must be present in every single aqd of nikah. Shurut al-Nikah. So for example, the consent of both parties, both spouses, specifying who the spouses are, the wali, and the shahidan, the two witnesses. These are conditions, these are basic need or basic necessities for any aqd, any contract of nikah to be correct. The second chapter, which we shall see later on in future classes inshallah, shurutun fin nikah. Shurutun fin nikah. And I believe we studied something similar to it in the past. Shurutun fin nikah are those conditions that the two people, the two spouses, lay out between themselves in order for them for their aqd to maintain their aqd, or to maintain their contract, their nikah. For mathalan, if a woman says to her husband or her fiancé, one of the conditions that I will marry you, or one of the conditions, or a condition that, or on the condition that you do not get married again, that you do not take a second wife. Now this condition, it is a condition in nikah, like it isn't to do with the essence of the contract. Now, if the fiancé or the husband disagrees with that condition, and they forget about that condition, the nikah will be correct. Sah? The nikah will be correct. Like if they leave out a condition from these conditions that we will mention in this chapter, for example, the wali, or the witnesses, or the consent from one of the two parties, then the actual nikah will be batil. So that is the difference. So for example, in the second shurudun fi nikah, if they place a condition between themselves, for example, I'm going to stay in my hometown, and he agrees to that condition, like if he asks her or forces her to move out of her hometown because he's agreed to that condition in the first place, then later on, if he does contradict that condition, she's got an option of doing fasq. Fasq means nullifying the aqd, the contract. طيب. So the Shaykh says, بعد شروط النكاح ولا بد فيه من رضا الزوجين إلا الصغيرة فيجبرها أبوها والأمة يجبرها سيدها. طيب. The first condition the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi says is that there must be consent between the two zawjain, between the wife and the husband to be. The consent needs to be there. And the evidence is the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Firstly, a condition. What is the ta'rif of a condition in Arabic? With the scholars of Usul al-Fiqh, they lay out a condition or a definition for condition. ما يلزم. We've studied it before in Kitab al-Salah, Shuruط al-Salah. ما يلزم من عدمه العدم ولا يلزم من وجوده عدم ولا وجود لذاته. ما يلزم من عدمه العدم. That which, if that condition isn't met, then يلزم من عدمه العدم. Then if that condition is not met, then the ibadah isn't there or the contract isn't correct. طيب. ولا يلزم من وجوده. However, if the actual condition is there, from its existence, if it is there, لا يلزم من وجوده عدم ولا وجود. It doesn't mean that the contract or the ibadah has to be present. For example, from the conditions of wudu is what? From the conditions of salah is what? نعم. Or wudu, مثلا. Wudu is from the conditions of salah. طيب. If a person doesn't have wudu, can he or she pray? لا. If they do have wudu, does it mean that they have to pray? لا. A person can go make wudu now and come sit down in the majlis. صح? Therefore, it is not a must. It has no effect with regards to it when the condition is there, whether the ibadah is met or not, whether the ibadah is performed or not. Like, if it is missing, then it's if it's missing, then a person won't be able to perform the ibadah or it won't be accepted from him. Inshallah, we'll see that in Usul al-Fiqh. That is what is called al-ahkam al-wad'iyya. طيب. The condition or the dalil for this condition, the condition of what? The consent between the two parties, is that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا تنكح الأيم حتى تستأمر ولا تنكح البكر حتى تستأذن. قالوا يا رسول الله وكيف إذنها؟ قال أن تسكت. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the ayyim is to be asked, or she has to actually give the nutq, or give the sound, and actually proclaim her acceptance or her refusing of this nikah. And the ayyim is that woman who has been through marriage, the one who has been married and divorced, طبعا, the woman who has been divorced. حتى تستأمر, until she is asked, or her permission is sought. ولا تنكح البكر, as for the virgin, she is not to be married off حتى تستأذن, until you ask for her permission. So the other one has to, the woman who has been through marriage has to actually say she wants to get married and so on. Like, the difference is in the fact that they said to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَكَيْفَ إِذْنُهَا? How do we know if the virgin has given us a consent or not, or whether she's given us permission? The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أَن تَسْكُتْ, that she remains quiet. And the reason or the difference between the thayyib and the bikr, or the woman that has been through marriage, that has been married before and got divorced, and the virgin, is because the woman that has been married has experienced marriage. She knows how to deal with men. She knows how to, or in more cases than not, she'll be able to express herself and say her needs and her wants. Like, as for the virgin, again, in most cases, and it can differ from place to place and time to time, like, more often than not, the virgin will be shy, virgin girl, will be shy to say, yes, I accept him, or I don't want him. طيب. Especially if the person that is speaking to her is her father or her brother, she'll be shy. It's less in degree when it's her mother or her cousins or sisters talking to her or asking her. Like, when it's to do with like the male members of her family, she'll be shy. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said her sukut, the fact that she is quiet, then that is a sign of her accepting. Like, and again, this sukut, her being quiet or remaining quiet, you can often tell of a person's response or the person's answer. So, for example, if you see that she feels worried and she's not happy and she's feeling distressed after you ask her, then obviously you can't say she's happy with it, because you can tell. by the signs that she's given out. Lakin if she's quiet and she's, it doesn't show any sort of worry or stress or any sign that she's refusing, then it's permissible for to take that as consent. To take that as consent. Again, that differs today. It's a totally different scenario to what we're used to today. Na'am. So we see from there, obviously, if this is a condition that the woman cannot be what? Forced to marry a person that she doesn't want to marry. The woman cannot be forced to, even whether it's an arranged marriage or whatever. And a lot of times what happens is a woman is forced to marry someone that the father wants her to marry. And in some cultures they say, choose between me making dua for you or me making dua against you. Me making dua for you, and if you marry this individual that I want you to marry, then I will make dua for you. However, if you refuse to marry this individual that I want you to marry, then I will make dua against you. طبعا that is haram, because you haven't given this individual a choice. You've given them one way out. You've said to them, accept this proposal, or that's the last of our connection. We have no connection, there's no relation between us, or there's no, or I'm going to make dua against you. طبعا that is haram. Also, if a person is mathalan sent back home and is forced to marry, lakin they have no consent, then the aqd is batil. That is if she's forced. There's a difference between if her father marries his daughter off and then later on she accepts the marriage. In that case, in the latter, then it's okay. The marriage can be, or is, sahih, the nikah is sahih. And that happened during the time of the Messenger ﷺ, in which one of the companions, by the name of Khansa bint Khidam al-Ansariya, her father married her off, and أباها زوجها وهي ثيب فكرهت ذلك. Her father married her off even though she'd been through previous marriage. So they were meant to, or her father was meant to ask her for permission. Lakin she did not want to carry on with the marriage. She did not want to marry the individual that her father had married her off to. فأتت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فرد نكاحه. So she came to the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم complaining of what her father had done, and then the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم rejected their nikah. So the Rawi or the narrator said that it was a nikah. It was named a nikah. So the only reason why it was rejected is because she refused. Like had she accepted, if she was to accept, then it would not have been rejected. Naam. So if a woman is forced to marry someone that she doesn't want to marry, then that nikah is batil. That nikah is batil. Again, don't forget that a condition is this one. Don't forget that a condition is something that has to be there, has to be met. So if you see a woman getting forced and she doesn't want to marry a certain individual but her family are forcing her, it's equivalent to someone praying salah without wudu. That is equivalent to someone praying salah without wudu, because a condition is missing. طيب. So the Shaykh says, so that's the first condition. That there has to be rida zawjain, there has to be consent from both parties. طيب. إلا الصغيرة, the Shaykh says, رحمة الله عليه رحمة واسعة. Except for the young individual or the young girl. فيجبرها أبوها, then her father can marry her off to whom he feels befitting. So that is a right of the father if the girl is young. And the scholars, when they're talking about young, they talk about duna tis'a, under 9. And the reason why they say 9 is because in most cases 9 is the age for hayd. If you remember when we were talking about Bab al-Hayd, we said that Jumhur al-Ulama or Kathir min al-Ulama, they say that the age for nikah is what? 9 years old. Likewise in Kitab Nikah as well, they mention that the Saghira, her had, is 9. So it's only for the father that can marry his daughter off who is young. And that is because of the interest that he has in his daughter and the love and the affection that a father usually does have for his daughter. And like was the case with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he married Aisha off to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Again, that goes back to the maslahah. Again, that goes back to the maslahah. So if a father is marrying his daughter off, regardless of what age she is, for a maslahah or a benefit of his or his self-interest, without looking into the interest of the daughter, then that is impermissible. So for example, if he wants to be connected with a certain group of people in order to get a certain job or wealth, and he marries his daughter off to a certain person, or in order to get a name in terms of his lineage, then that is haram, because it's not in the interest of the daughter. So the father in general, he always looks out for the maslahah of the daughter. Likewise the son. A father can marry his son off while he is young, under the age of puberty. Under the age of puberty. So there's the same, the hukum is the same for the young girl and the young boy. The Shaykh says, وَالْأَمَةُ يُجْبِرُهَا سَيِّدُهَا. As for the female slave, then her master marries her off, or he can force her, or he can marry her off. Obviously, فَانْكِحُهُنَّ بِإِذْنِ أَهْلِهِنَّ. Because obviously he owns her. The slave, or the master owns his slave. Just like he can go to her and have intercourse with her, then he can also marry her off. Lakin طبعا, if he does marry her off, then he cannot go to her while she's the wife of another person. طيب. That's the condition, or that's the first condition out of the way. That is the first condition out of the way. The most important thing is that the consent has to be there. The consent has to be there, and if someone does marry his daughter off or his father or his sister off by forcing them, then that nikah is batil, and she merely has to go to any court or any imam and explain the situation to them, and that nikah will be, or there will be a fasakh. طيب. The second condition, the Shaykh says, وَلَا بُدَّ فِيهِ مِنَ الْوَلِيِّ. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا نكاح إلا بولي حديث صحيح رواه الخمسة. طيب. So the next condition is the wali. And the wali is the guardian of the guardian of the woman. The guardian of the woman is the wali. طيب. When we're talking about wali, who can be a wali? Who can be a wali? Here we have Ali. طبعا Ali has a mother. صح? All of the male members from her mother's side are not her walis. They cannot be a wali for her, a guardian for her. In nikah. Doesn't mean they're not related. Like when it comes to nikah, it's only the father's side. طيب. As we shall see in the tartib, al-ab, as the father, al-jad, her grandfather. Go down, al-ibn, the son, keep going down, her grandson. طيب. Her uncle, paternal uncle, her father's brother. طيب. Al-akh, her brother. His children. These are all of they're called the asabat in general. In ilm al-mirath, inheritance, when we're going to study inshallah. These are the people that inherit a person. They're the ones that inherit. They're the asabat, as they call it. So her father, her grandfather, the son, his son. So you say that al-ab wa ma'ala, al-ibn wa ma dunahu. And her brothers, their children, her uncle, and his sons. So that man, her brother and his children, her uncle, his sons, her uncle and his sons. The tartib, or the order that these should be placed in, we shall see in the next part. Like in the first part that we're going to study is that the wali is a condition for the nikah to be sahih. And the wali is the closest male figure to this woman. So for example, the father. Or if the father isn't there, then we're going to see the tartib. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La nikaha illa bi wali." There's no nikah except with a wali. Hadithun sahihun. Rawahul khamsa. The five narrated it. What does that mean? Firstly, Rawahul khamsa is a terminology that is used by some scholars. You will find it in Bulugh al-Maram, Ibn Hajar rahmatullahi alayhi. So sometimes instead of saying Rawah Bukhari, Muslim, Ahmed, or Abu Dawud, he'll say Rawah al-Sab'a, 7 narrated it, or Rawah al-Khamsa, or so on. So Rawah al-Khamsa means 5. Who are they? Ahmed, Sunan Imam Ahmed, Abu Dawud, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, Ibn Majah. These are the 5. So when the 5 are mentioned, then it is to be found in these sunan. طيب. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La nikaha illa bi wali." So with regards to the wali, if firstly we're going to look at the evidence for the wali, then we're going to look at certain or other masail to do with the wali. The evidence for the wali is to be found in the Quran and in the Sunnah and in the aqwal of the Sahaba ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim. Firstly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُنْكِحُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنُوا. Do not marry your daughters off to the mushrikeen up until they believe. Where's the mahallu shahid? Where's the point of evidence in? وَلَا تُنْكِحُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Do not marry your daughters off. So from there we can see that there is a person that is going to marry this daughter off. Do not marry your daughters off shows that there is someone who is marrying them off. طيب, that's the first evidence from the Quran. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُم بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. إِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. If you divorce your women and then they reach their iddah, فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ. Do not prevent them from marrying أن ينكحن أزواجهن. That they marry, that they marry their husbands. إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ. If they agree or if there's a mutual agreement between the two. So the Messenger, or Allah Jalla wa Ala is telling us and preventing us from, warning us against preventing the women from getting married. So if Allah is preventing us from telling them to get married, or warning us against preventing them or allowing them to get married, that means the preventing comes from who? The wali. When we look at the sabab al-nuzul for this verse, the reason why the verse was revealed, or one of the reasons, there was a companion radiallahu anhu who married his sister off to a man. And this man and his sister and this man had an argument, or they had some sort of quarrel. In the end, he ended up divorcing her. And she passed her iddah. After finishing her iddah, he came back to the man and wanted him to give her again, give her hand in marriage again, wanted to marry her again. He came back to her brother. Asking him to marry his daughter, marry his sister. So the companion said to him, "La wallah, I won't give her to you. I honored you, I gave her to you, and you did what you did, you divorced her." So he prevented him from, so he said, "La, I'm not going to marry her off to you." And then this verse was revealed. After this verse was revealed, he allowed her to marry the man that divorced her. So it shows, or by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us to not prevent them from getting married, it shows the power or the ability or the authority was in whose hands? The wali's hands. Her brother in this case. Because if she did not need the permission of her brother to get married to her ex-husband, then her ex-husband would have married her off without even telling this companion. Na'am. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَانْكِحُوهُنَّ بِإِذْنِ أَهْلِهِنَّ, and marry them with the permission of their ahl, their people and their guardians. In the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see the hadith that the Shaykh mentions, "La nikaha illa bi wali." There is no nikah illa bi wali. There is no nikah لا نكاح صحيح إلا بولي. There is no nikah which is correct إلا بولي. Because when there's no nikah without a wali, it doesn't mean it's يعني خبر, it doesn't exist. Because there are many people who get married without a nikah, صح? It's possible for a person to get married without a wali, عفوا. It is possible for a person to marry without a wali if they don't care about the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the meaning of لا نكاح إلا بولي is the same as لا نكاح صحيح إلا بولي. Just like when you say La ilaha illallah, if a person says there's no God but Allah, is that correct? Why? There are gods. So we have to do taqdeer of what? لا إله بحق إلا الله. Likewise here, we have to do taqdeer of sahih. لا نكاح صحيح, there's no nikah which is correct, إلا بولي. Because we can't say there's no nikah without a wali. Because many people do get married without a wali. Also, Aisha radiallahu anha said, أيما امرأة نكحت بغير إذن وليها فنكاحها باطل. And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam repeated it 3 times. Now, so these verses and ahadith show that a wali or the wali is a condition for a woman to get married. Also, that is the opinion of many of the companions, Umar, Ali, Ibn Abbas, and other than them. طيب. And that is the strongest opinion in the mas'ala, and the other opinion is weak. طيب. So the wali is a condition for the nikah to be correct. طيب. If a person gets married without a wali, then that nikah is طبعا fasid. Fasid or batil. It can be fasid or batil. And these are one of the only times in fiqh that nikah, that fasid and batil have a different meaning. الباطل Al-Batil and Al-Fasid, 2 terminologies which are quite important in this chapter. In mainly in Kitab al-Nikah and Hajj. That's the only time that the Jumhur in Usul al-Fiqh make a difference between Al-Batil and Al-Fasid. طيب. Al-Batil in this chapter, Nikah, is that Nikah which is absolutely Batil and there's no khilaf between Ahl al-Ilm. However weak that khilaf is, there's absolutely no khilaf and there's ijma'. For example, a man who's married to 4 marrying a 5th woman. That nikah is batil bil ijma'. There's no khilaf and they won't find the qeel saying it is permissible to marry 5. Also, a man marrying 2 sisters at the same time. One of them is batil, the latter is batil. Likewise, a man marrying a woman and her auntie. That nikah is also batil. So it's not called a nikah, like it is batil anyhow. Fasid is that nikah which there's some sort of khilaf in it, however weak, like the khilaf of the wali. You will find that the Hanafiya, the madhab of the Hanafiya, when it comes to the condition of the wali, they say that a woman is allowed to marry herself off as long as she's of baligha, she's of age, 18 or so. As long as she's aqila, she's allowed to marry herself off. Just like when it comes to buying and selling, she can buy and sell. When it comes to buying and selling, she can buy and she can sell. So likewise, when it comes to nikah. And they say this hadith is weak. لا نكاح إلا بولي. لا نكاح إلا بولي. لكن the hadith is sahih and it is mutawatir, and many scholars have clarified that the hadith is sahih. طيب. Now that we've understood this,